Everybody, how y'all doing? Pretty good here, and welcome to the channel. Yeah, I had a couple questions here recently about the measurements and the distances with the tires that I have on the Tacoma up there. So I thought I would bring it down. It's resting comfortably up in the air right now, but I thought I'd bring it down and do some measurements for you guys so you can see how the tires fit in the wells on this truck. Now, the tires that are on here are Nitto Ridge Grapplers. They're 295/55 R20s. You guys can see up there in the dark. There you go. 295/55 R20s, and they're on Fuel Ansa wheels. And I'll bring it down and put a tape measure to it so you guys can see just how much space there is. Okay, we've got it down. I figured I'd start in the back real quick just to show you guys what kind of clearance we have back here. We'll start here, obviously in the front part of the tire, right between the tire itself and the front, I guess I'll call it, of the wheel well. Go ahead, I have a tape measure here, and we're just gonna take some measurements, and we'll go at the point that I think is the most prone to rubbing if you were to have that issue. But you can see right here, maybe, see if we can get you in a little bit closer. Hopefully that comes through well on the camera. This is right to the edge here, middle of the tire. And we're about, and I'm gonna round, but we're about 3 3/4 inches or so before we start to get into the fender here. So plenty of room, even if, you know, things bounce around or whatever, we're pretty good. Let's go over here to the back. Hopefully get you guys set up okay there so you guys can see okay. Let me step around out of the way. And if you go from, again, about the middle of the tire to the back of the fender, and we're looking at about, and again I'm rounding down a hair, about a 1/16 of an inch or so, about 2.5 inches. So we're about 2.5 inches off the rear here, which again I think is fine. You're not going to have any problems there at all. Now let's go to the top, and obviously you're not going to have any issues here, but I'll measure it for you anyway. Let me get my camera up in the air a little bit here. Get you guys a good straight on shot. There you go. And we're going to just measure, let's see, we'll go inside the wheel well here if we can, and not really. So I guess we'll just kind of line it up here off of the lip of the fender, and you can see, and this is just kind of eyeballing across, but we're probably right about 7.5 inches here. Again, I can't imagine you taking enough bumps or bounces that's really going to be an issue. So plenty of room back here. In other words, plenty of room for the back wheel. Now, let's go to where the problem child always is, of course. Let's go up here to the front. All right, up here in the front, let's go ahead and start from the top up here, I guess. In other words, the distance from the top of the tire to the bottom of the fender. And again, we'll kind of have to eye this a little bit, trying to pick about the lowest point. This does angle down a bit. So we'll go maybe about right here. And again, eyeing that, looks like right about 7 inches or so. So we're about 7 inches from the top of the tire here to the edge of the fender. And the reason I'm measuring to the edge of the fender is because these tires do stick out. They're out here and the fender's here. So the first point of contact, if there were to be any, would be out here on the fender as opposed to inside the well. Now, let's see if I can arrange you guys around a little bit, maybe here. This is going to be probably a bad angle for the camera, but that's not too bad. Let's see, let's go about right there. And we're going to measure this space here between the tire and the front of the fender, if you will. Let me go ahead and get my tape measure out a little bit. And let's see, kind of reaching around the lift pole here to do this. And I'm going to go right here on the inside, back in the corner here, because this is the closest point here to the tire. And that is going to be, hopefully you guys can see there, that's going to be about 2.5 inches. So we have about 2.5 inches of clearance, which, by the way, is plenty of clearance when you're turning the tire. Now, one thing I will say, this did have the chin spoiler here on the front, and that chin spoiler used to come down about like so, and obviously was in the way of the tire. So what I had them do when I had that on was angle that chin spoiler down, kind of matching, maybe a little more severe than the fender angle itself. And that enabled me to have these tires on here without any rubbing against the chin spoiler. Since then, it's gone. But if you kept it on for some reason, that would be an issue you'd have to address with this tire. Now, let's go ahead and sit you guys around here on the back side. There, I think that's a pretty good shot. Now, we're going to go ahead and kind of measure the same way. This pretty much goes straight across, does angle in a little bit this way, so we'll measure right here on the corner, and then here on this edge as well, so you can see both. But measuring it to the back side, you can see again, it's pretty much about 2.5 inches or so. No, I'm not exactly straight there, but about 2.5 inches. And then if we come up here to the front, we're starting to push about 2 3/4 inches. So 2.5, 2 3/4, somewhere in there is your clearance. Turning the tire either way, I don't have any issues. If I did, you'd be able to see rubbing on here in the camera. And as you can tell, it's smooth. I don't feel anything. There are no issues there. Now, where an issue does come into play, I'll show you next, and that's with the UCA arm. So hold on a minute, and I'm going to set you guys up there so you can see that. All right, now I've got some lights set up in here for you guys, and the tape measure, hopefully this comes through pretty well. I'm trying to watch it on the camera as I film. But you can see there is very little distance here between the tire itself and that UCA control arm, or the upper control arm. And again, hopefully you can see, it looks to me like it's, I don't know, maybe 1/2 inch, 1/4 inch. I'll be able to see when I watch the video back. But you can see there that the distance is pretty darn narrow right here. And I can't even get my index finger through there. Matter of fact, I can't even get my pinky through there. So that's the width, or the width of my pinky, I guess. And you can see that won't even fit through there itself. So that's how close it is on the UCA control arm. And I have mentioned before in other videos, there is a problem there. When I turn, too severely left or right, it does rub. When I go over bumps, excuse me, with the tire turned, or the tire kind of articulates a little bit, it hits as well. So I've mentioned that in other videos, so I'm not going to dwell on that. But those are the measurements of these tires themselves. As far as height goes, I believe these tires are 32.8 inches tall. So it's not like they're, short by any means. And you have to be aware of that, I think, when you, trying to see the camera here so I can see what I'm actually taping. So obviously you have to be aware of that when you put these on. You need room. More concerning is the UCA joint and the distance between the tire and the fenders, especially in the front. Obviously the rears are fixed, so they're not going to turn side to side. What I'm going to do, just so you guys know, we have the Jeep here, which again, I've mentioned this before, so I'm not going to dwell on it. But we have the Jeep here where we're going to put these, we're going to swap. We're going to switch tires and wheels between the Jeep and the truck. Well, new wheels for the Jeep. We're going to keep the same wheels on the Tacoma. But I am going to go with a 275/60 R20. And what that's going to do is give me more clearance. I should end up hopefully with about 3/4 of an inch or an inch clearance between the tires and the UCAs, and that should be fine. If that doesn't work by some odd chance, and it should from all my measurements and stuff and in talking to the shop, then I will change out the UCAs, but at this point I think I'm going to be pretty good. We'll see. Anyway, I just wanted to get on here, do a measurement of the tires in the wells for you guys. A couple people have asked me to do that, so I thought I'd actually show it. You could see for yourself with the tape measure what those measurements are. Anyway, appreciate you guys watching. Please give this video a big thumbs up. Click that subscribe button if you haven't before, and we'll see you next time on the web. Have a good day. Bye.